What's going on, folks? Welcome back to the Steelers Breakdown Podcast. Nick Farabaugh here. Let's talk day two of Steelers OTAs. And I want to start off by showcasing who did show up today. First guy that kind of popped up that wasn't there yesterday was Darius Slay. Not sure why he wasn't there yesterday, but he was there today. Said it was really important for him to come here. I think this is a guy, when you're talking about locker room leaders, Slay to me feels like the exact type of culture builders you want. Now, obviously, he's won a ring. He's been there, done that. So this guy kind of knows what it takes to win in the NFL, which I think is really important. First of all, you need guys that know how to win in the NFL, guys that know what it takes to get to the mountaintop. I think those are in. I feel like those guys are invaluable. And Slay's that type of player, but he's really going to help Joey Porter Jr. He's really looking forward to working with Corey Trice. All these things really come together with Slay that I think are really, really encouraging things for the secondary. So we'll see. I like that Slay has there. The other thing I'm seeing is Derrick Harmon is like glued to Cam Hayward's hip. I love that. He's asking him questions. He's going up to other veteran players. The Steelers have an under the radar vet named Dominic Davis. You see him going up to him. You see him talking to Dean Lowry. Like you see him talking to all the different veterans. Daniel Ekuale. He is like a just inquisitive player. I love that about Derek Harmon. He has this great kind of disposition. I think that allows you to immediately improve and look at your weaknesses. And he's got that honesty about him where if he sees a weakness, he's going to attack it and ask the players how to fix it. Cam Heyward kind of said that yesterday, and you see it on the field. He like follows Cam around like crazy, and he idolized Cam Heyward, so that's not really that surprising. But Derek Harmon has the right mindset, I think, to play football in the NFL. That's what I always think when I look at him. He's got the right body, obviously. He's NFL ready in that regard too. He's quick. And so this is a guy I think that's in the right pocket. So I like that about Derek Harmon. That's one thing I've been kind of noticing. The other thing that I really have been noticing on that defensive line, YA Black to me, I don't mean to throw cold water on a guy just 2 days into camp, but clearly somebody that the Steelers view as a technical project. Carl Dunbar and Denzel Martin and whoever is in those defensive line drills, it depends from drill to drill. They really are focusing on him just kind of knowing how to use his hands, knowing how to use his mass. He's a big dude. He's not going to be an insane athlete in terms of moving, but he certainly can be a massive space eater. He can be a guy that is just strong as an ox, and he has enough burst in the first step where he can be a legit pocket pusher, but he's got to learn the kind of ins and outs. That is a big thing for him. And so the Steelers really are focusing on the little technical things with YA Black. I think he's probably going to play a little bit of four eye, a little bit of nose. He's going to do a different bit of everything. But right now, we're going to see this summer. I think you're going to see him doing a lot of technique stuff, a lot of tedious repetition of routine things to try and get him up to snuff. And so that is where YA Black is different player, different spot he's at than Derrick Harmon. So that's first round versus fifth round pick, of course. Let's talk about some performance. I can't really detail a ton of like actual plays for you guys. I'm not allowed to technically by the rules, but I am allowed to talk about who I think is doing really well and kind of why they're doing really well, even though I can't necessarily say specific examples of that. First of all, Corey Trice, having a really good OTAs. I just love his fluidity. I love his know-how. If he could just stay healthy, I just need Corey Trice to stay healthy, man. This guy could be a gem. I thought, last year against Jamar Chase, he had some really good reps. Of course, when you get thrown a man covered against Jamar Chase one-on-one, you're going to have your fair share of bad reps, and he did, but he really persevered through that. He had some really solid reps, and that's kind of carrying over. He looks like a guy that is confident and is playing well. So that is something. Corey Trice, keep an eye out. The slot corner competition also, to me, quite fascinating. Beanie Bishop confirmed yesterday he's taking first team slot corner reps, which Okay, interesting. Not that surprising. But the two other guys you mentioned, first of all, no Sebastian Castro. We've talked about Sebastian Castro on here. He's a natural slot at Iowa. They got Castro said they got him more at safety, so that's something to note right now. But it seems like the three guys, according to Beanie Bishop, are him, Dante Kent, seventh round rookie, and Deshaun Jameson, who is one of those future signings. He was on the practice squad last year. He's a slot player. So keep an eye on Jameson. He's kind of come out of nowhere, but Kent and Bishop will fit into that mold. B Bishop too looks a little more explosive. He looks a little bigger. He kind of cut his body fat and got more shredded in an effort to get more explosive. You don't need a ton of sheer size or weight. You want to be more fluid. You want to be more explosive. I understand that switch. So really interesting there for him. When you look at the slot room, I think with him, Kent, and Jameson, it's all going to be about a tug back and forth. Could we see last year where one guy got first team reps this week, the next got first team reps the next week? I wonder if they're going to push Beanie like that. That's probably going to be depending upon his performance, and so we'll see where Beanie goes. So far, pretty status quo. No one's like sticking out in a bad or good way in the slot to me. Um, and Will Howard has, I think, had a welcome to the NFL first 2 days for quarterbacks, especially. I always expect them to struggle. Like Kenny Pickett struggled a ton at OTAs, um, his rookie year. I don't know necessarily, even how guys like franchise quarterbacks looked here, but I would imagine they'd look the same way because this is their first practice, not just against rookies, right? Rookie minicamp is rookie versus rookie. It's still college essentially. This one is like against NFL vets, right? You're going out there and you're throwing the ball against Patrick Queen and you're seeing NFL veterans, even the guys that have been around for 5 years on practice squads. It just moves faster. And you could see Will Howard being like, whoa. So I think that is something to look at. He's had a few accuracy misses, but I think a lot of it's just related to this. Like I just think the game is really, fast for him. And so that is not at all out of the ordinary, like at all out of the ordinary. Um, from what I've always kind of viewed it through, where you have actually looked at this quarterback leap, essentially it's a market improvement, right? Like it genuinely sometimes gets better and it essentially continues throughout. And so that has continued throughout the entire process for a lot of quarterbacks over the years, where it just starts out rough and then it gets better and better. And by the time you're in the preseason, cool. He's got that processing speed up to stuff. So I'm just going to be watching Howard kind of progress rather than, stay where he's at right now. So rough first two practices, but whatever. He's a rookie. He's a 6 round rookie trying to get his bearings. I think any rookie, to be quite honest with you, would have a tough first two practices. So let's see how he improves because a lot of these guys, non-quarterback or quarterback, have rough OTAs because they're rookies, and then by training camp, they're really going well. And so I think that's a big thing to watch. People have asked me to talk about Rock Taylor. There's a video out there by Alan Saunders of Steelers Now today. He's running off to the side. Typically, that's due to someone returning from injury. So nothing really to report in team periods and just kind of how I think Rock Taylor looks. Just because of that, we'll see when he can get out there. Very important, of course, for him to get out there if he wants to make a roster push. But right now, not out there, so we'll see. Someone that is having a really good start at the wide receiver room, though. I mean, Roman Wilson's come to play, at least. He looks highly motivated. Looks a little bigger. I think he's the same weight, but he looks a little sturdier. So you add a little bit more muscle, trade some fat for muscle, which I think is a smart move for him. The sturdier he can get, the better. It's all in an effort to prevent injuries. Roman kind of focused on that this offseason. Before he was hurt, last year, I always thought this was a guy that had that chain mover type of idea with him. In terms of the speed, the horizontal ability. He's looking fine right now, but again, they're not in pads. But in this setting, his speed shines. So not a surprise for him. If he wasn't showing out, I'd be a little more concerned. But the fact that at least that's happening um, is somewhat encouraging. But I'm not obviously going to say anything really until we even see it in a preseason game. But encouraging start at least to the offseason for him. So those are just a few updates in terms of performance I wanted to give. Again, it's 2 days of OTAs. How much can you really buy into that? Not a ton because it's a start, and tomorrow they could suck. There's so many different ways that you can look at it. But the Steelers, to me, are really kind of emphasizing detail-oriented players this year. I feel like a lot of their draft picks this year, Johnson, Harmon, Sawyer, Heyward, like you just see a lot of detail-oriented players in there. You see guys that are asking meticulous questions. It's just a little different from past draft classes. I just see a lot more of that detail-oriented type player that they drafted, and that's what you need. They didn't have enough of those guys. Caleb Johnson, particularly, is just a detail freak, I think, and so that is really positive. So we'll talk tomorrow more about what I see from OTAs. Of course, not going to be much negative coming from OTAs. It's football in shorts essentially and helmets. But we will kind of see where things go and what I observe and what I learn from people who I talk to. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching.